I am not afraid to take risks because I know myself and I know I will figure it out. I know I will figure out a way. I know myself and I'll figure it out. And that is, oh gosh, that's so poignant. And that's how I feel too when I'm taking risks. Yeah, this could totally fail, but I know myself. I've been in failure before. I've been in embarrassment before, and I'll figure it out. I know that now, but you have to put yourself in those positions to build
Yeah.
that confidence.
How do you know success unless you fail?
100%.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up. Here we go.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, and this is the place where we talk about everything, lifestyle and environment, and how it relates to our genetic expression. All right, people, buckle up. I have an interesting one today. We've already been laughing about this. My guest today, I came across her, about 6 months ago when I was looking for some speakers last year. And it just wasn't the right timing. We couldn't connect. And then I reached back out just a few weeks ago and said, hey, would you like to be on again or like to get on here? And she's like, I'm so glad you reached out. Timing is fine now. And so here we are a couple weeks later. And we're going to delve into getting out of your own way and going after your dreams. Because when you're going after your dreams, you're your most authentic. And what do we talk about on this show is being your most authentic, coming from how you're created, of course, but that's what it's about. And when you're your most authentic and when you're living your dream, not someone else's, not who you're told to be, that's where you really thrive. And that's when you're in your flow and everything just seems to fall into place. But we're going to get to that. Because the first half, I'm just going to tell you, when you hear what this woman has done and accomplished, you're going to feel like I did. Like I said, I'm just going to throw up the paper and walk away because I totally feel inferior here because I thought I was living life. Geez Louise. I want to hear some stories that she's going to share with us. And I thought, with all the craziness happening out there right now, let's have some fun and hear about someone that's had so many different types of experiences that brought her to talking about getting out of your own damn way and living your dream. And so I have on the show with me today is Dana Ayers. She's an author, speaker, decorated veteran. Thank you for your service. Longtime national security professional. She's someone who thrives on inspiring others to push their limits and achieve their goals. And I had to ask her, I had to probe a little bit there because I thought that's activatory, like drill sergeant. But no, diplomat with a very strong activatory piece to her, it sounds. But she has burrowed her way into all sorts of places she had no business being, including, get this, herding celebrities in green rooms, working as an armed communicator in Afghanistan, serving as a White House staffer, and advising special forces. That's it. She's passionate about sharing the insights she's learned from getting out of her comfort zone because we know that's where dreams go to die. It is the dream graveyard, is that comfort zone. And going after her dreams where she didn't fit the typical mold. Isn't that what life is about? Getting out of what's typical and getting into what's you. So welcome aboard to the show, Dana Ayers.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Which life do you want to start with? where do I want to delve in first? Because I'm like, I don't know which life to start with. Where does your journey begin? To what was your first? Because I want to go to like where life took you, and where did it take you first? To service in the military?
The White House.
The White House. Okay.
Yeah.
Got to hear the story. Like,
So,
wow.
yes. Grew up in small rural towns, and I went to a undergrad in Tennessee, near Chattanooga, and I was a business major, and everybody kept asking me what I wanted to do after college, and the only thing I could come up with was I wanna live in a city. That was I wanna wear suits, and I wanna live in a city.
Oh my gosh.
Extent of my plans.
I love it.
So, my college was awesome, and they had a lot of it's a Christian liberal arts school, but they had fantastic travel opportunities, and they had a semester in DC, and my friend did it. I knew nothing about government or politics, no interest, but she came back, and it sounded amazing, and I was like, "They wear suits in DC, and it's a city, so
It's a city. Oh
let's
god.
do it." So, I did that semester, and it was half class, half internship. And by divine intervention, because there's no other way to explain it, my internship landed at the White House. And that is what launched my life.
Now, who was president at the time?
George W. Bush.
George W. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
9/11 was the second day of my internship.
you are kidding.
Yeah. So I was thrown right into chaos,
My God.
and my career continued to
Yeah.
have chaos in it on that scale in a couple different ways after that, but that's how it started.
What type of internship were you doing?
So, it was called the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives, and it was around organizations that were providing a civic service, but because they happened to have a faith tie, they weren't able to access federal grants. So
Right.
President Bush
Right.
opened that up. I think several presidents have done it now, but it was essentially leveling the playing field so that those organizations could also have access to federal funding. But I was like, "Go for it." I would have cleaned the toilets if they asked me to. It was the
So
White House.
what's it like inside the White House? Or start with you 2 days later, 9/11 goes down. What was the mood like? What was the temperature like in there? I we know what the country was like. Oh my god.
Yeah.
What was it like in there?
It was surreal because if anybody can remember what it was like before 9/11, we didn't have the security systems that we do now. And so there were no alarms going off. Like, we watched the news saying that the White House had been evacuated, and we're like, "Really?" Because we're still standing in our office. And I leaned out in the hallway, and I was still in college, like, I was a baby. I leaned out in the hallway, and I saw a Secret Service agent in full bomb gear, and he's, "What are
Oh
you
my
doing?
god.
This is real, run." And
Oh
that's
my
how
god.
we evacuated. Like, that's
Wow.
yeah, and so we ran out of the building. I still have my badge. I wasn't supposed to keep it, but because everybody was in a hurry, I didn't have to, like, turn my
Yeah.
badge back in, my intern badge. But so we ran out, and there was a coworker who lived within walking distance, and so we just went to her
Mhm.
house for the rest of the day. But obviously, it was chaos. There was all kinds of rumors of there's it's heading to the Capitol, it's heading to the White House, the
Mhm.
National Mall is on fire. It was just rumors for days. But most all the staff went back to the office, and the president himself came around to thank people for coming back, which was just amazing.
Yeah, no doubt with everything else he had going on.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long were you there?
I was an intern for 3 months, and then I was done with school by that point, and I was
Okay.
hired full time. So then I stayed there as a staffer for another, I don't know, 2-ish years, and then I moved to the Department of Homeland Security, still part of the Bush administration. So you're considered a political appointee, and so
Mhm.
I was an appointee for about 5 years total. So it was White House and then Homeland.
What did you prefer? What filled you up?
Nothing compares to the White House perks. Like, you get to go to the lawn and watch the helicopter land or leave. You get to meet foreign dignitaries. You get to run with Secret Service. We literally had a running group on Friday morning, and
My gosh.
Like, I ran with the president at one point. It was just fun. Stressful, but
Wow.
fun. Long hours.
Yeah, yeah. Long hours?
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't it's one of those things where you make friends with your coworkers because a lot of you are similar ages, and so you're in it
Mm.
together. So even if you're sitting there at 7 p.m., it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It's
Yeah.
exciting, you're with your friends, you're joking about whatever the stressors are. It's pretty amazing. I'm so glad I got to do it.
Did you meet any foreign dignitaries that left an impression on you? Either way, like, a strong impression, either positively or negative?
Um, not not that I can think of for foreign dignitaries, but the president and his staff. I found it fascinating that the higher up someone was, the more humble they seemed. And the
Oh,
people that
really?
were which all makes sense to me now, but when you're that age, you don't know how the world works.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the people who were my age and just like the middle tier, still scrapping to get up the chain, they were the ones
makes
that were
sense.
arrogant. They were the ones that were not as kind. So I just found that interesting.
Who was your favorite of the higher ups?
Oh, the president.
Was it
I love him.
really?
To this day, we still have reunions with him. That's how close our team, like the Bush administration
Wow.
team is every 3 years or so, we see him either in DC or in Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's and is it other people from his administration too, or just him with you guys that were under?
It's all the political appointees, so they're throughout the government. So, you could have been at the White House, or you could have been at State Department or whatever, but it's just everyone who was appointed during that administration, so we can all
Not the
get together.
directors, not the head honcho directors.
No, they're invited too.
Some of them were there too?
His former chief of staffs are there, some cabinet secretaries are there. Yeah, you just never know. President Bush actually has a copy of my book because at one of those, I, like, put it to him and I was like, "Sir, you're in this, you're in this." And he started posing with it. So I have all these photos of the president with my book
Oh, wow, what an
marketing.
experience. What a
Yeah.
valuable life-changing experience.
Yes.
I love it. And then
Amazing.
you went from there to Homeland Security, and
Yeah.
what did you do there? Is it
So that's the second national level disaster that I was part of because I was there during Hurricane Katrina.
Crit I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
Okay, not Katrina.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Were you just bad luck schlep rock that
Possibly.
followed? It just fo Oh my god. So
Possibly.
what did you have to do helping there? And what was that like? Because you go from a terrorist attack is one thing, but then you have this massive scale
Yeah.
disaster.
So I was in the policy office at the time, but then it was all hands on deck when they needed to send folks down there to help. So it didn't matter what your job was, like you could get deployed, which I wanted to. I
Yeah,
want to be. I
yeah.
That's part of my wiring too. Is like I'm drawn to be where the action is and I want to help. So when I got to Louisiana, I was just like I don't know, trying to keep the staff organized because we had people
Mhm.
deploying themselves, sleeping on the floor, sleeping in buses, because the hotels were rightfully so going to victims, and so the
Sure.
government had to, like, figure out where we were gonna stay and then figure out how to set up printers and just really logistical things. So I
Mhm.
was helping people get rental cars, I was helping the staff, the office space set up and that sort of thing, and you're just living on adrenaline. It was insane. I remember landing and the one of my friends who was director of legislative affairs, so normally he's talking to senators, he was like his wild eyes and he was just like, "I feel like I can't go to sleep because if I go to sleep, there's someone that has water here, and if I go to sleep, it might be up here." He was just rambling like that the minute I saw him, and he had been down there for days. So I was like, "Okay,
Oh
I
god.
people are
Yeah.
running on adrenaline," and yeah, it was
Oh my
very
gosh.
intense.
How long were you down there?
I was supposed to be down there a lot longer, but then Mike Brown was fired, if you remember.
I remember. I remember.
I was part of his personal support cell. So when he got pulled back to DC, I got pulled back to DC. So I was only down there in the end. I don't even remember. It was probably a week, 10 days. It was a
Mhm.
much shorter time than I thought. And I tried they left the leaders because I was like bottom of the totem pole. The leaders left so fast that it literally felt like I was tucking and rolling like into one of the Suburbans. Like I almost
And
got left.
di did you travel in the same type of motorcade, or did you guys all that was totally separate, or how did that work?
Yeah. So this is something that I don't know if I've ever told anybody because I was always afraid the perception would be terrible. But so there's monetary donations in a disaster, and then there's in-kind donations. So the New York Knicks, the basketball team,
Yep. Yep.
donated their plane for the
Uh-huh.
efforts, and that's what
Oh, wow.
we took down.
Wow, we never hear about something like that.
Because it looks like, "Oh, why are these government officials using so," but it's not. It's literally so that but that's how we got there, and then we were living on buses, and then when we left, we were in a motorcade of Suburbans to actually Texas because we were trying to get to an airport where we could fly commercial back. So it was eye-opening.
Oh my god, yeah. Talk about, like I said, the frying pan into the fire. 2 disasters within just a few years of each other, and 2 of the biggest disasters we've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so Homeland Security. How long were you there?
I was there another 2.5 years. I left the Bush administration shortly before it ended, because when the administration ends, all the politicals lose their jobs. You go with the
Yep.
president.
Yeah.
I left early, and I didn't I'm so grateful that I did because then 2008 happened and the economy tanked, and a lot of people who stayed till the end had a lot of struggles trying to find a job. So you literally could be working in the
Oh.
White House and then can't get employed. That's how it was crazy. So I'm grateful that I left when I did, and
Yep.
I joined the private sector for it's called Booz Allen Hamilton. It's a government consulting firm in DC. So I went there.
Okay, so when the hell did you go in the military then? I'm like, this has to come into play somehow, right?
Need
This
a
is what I thought that
whiteboard.
you started with. So we need to have the push pins, like push pins up there for different time frames or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to break this down just to keep it clear in my mind. You lived it, so okay. So
Yes.
military experience. Go.
Military while all this was happening, the Iraq war was happening, and I had a good friend who joined the army after 9/11 out of patriotism, and I followed his journey, and he started sending his friends back to me in DC. "These are my army buddies, take care of them," and I just built this network of mostly army guys, girls around me. And I kept seeing these traits in them that I admired. Like they were capable. They could fix things with their hands. They didn't leave a man behind. They were they were humble. They didn't victimize themselves. So I became obsessed and I was like, I want to be around this community more. So I started volunteering with like service member type NGOs, helping wounded warriors at a Walter Reed Hospital in DC or helping families of the wounded war, whatever. So I got involved with everything I could, and I still felt like it wasn't enough. And I was like, wish I had worn the uniform myself, but I felt like it was too late. So fast forward, I'm already in my 30s. I'm at a reunion with Homeland Security because we've all stayed in touch. I'm at a reunion. There is another political appointee, and we were just catching up, and he's, "What are you doing now?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm at Booz Allen." I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's, "Oh, I joined the Navy." And I was like, "What do you mean you joined the Navy? We're too old. We're in our 30s." And it turns out it's called the Direct Commission Program, and there is a program where the military will take certain skill sets based on your civilian experience and you'll come in as an officer. So
Mhm.
public affairs happened to be one of those
Ah,
skill sets. And my job had pivoted into strategic communications.
okay.
In that moment, I was like, it was like a light bulb, and I was like, I could still serve in uniform. And it was
I love it.
gas pedal after that. So
Yeah.
I was, I applied,
So
I got in. Yeah.
what branch did you go into?
Navy.
The Navy? Okay.
Because all
All
my
right.
Army friends said, don't go Army.
From what I'd heard, the first choice was always if you wanted the best treatment, go Air Force.
Air Force.
And then was Navy, and then was Army, and then the poor Marines, because if they want you to have it, what they say, if they wanted you to
Issue.
have it, they'd have
They'll
issued it
issue
to
it.
you.
Yep. If
Like
they
the
want,
wife. I was
yep.
like, yeah, I get it.
They wanted you to have a wife, they would issue you one. But
So-
yes. So I looked at the Air Force and they would not, even if I had a master's degree, they would not let me be like I would have to go enlisted first.
okay.
So they
Okay.
were very picky.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
The Navy, I did have to have a master's to be looked at for this, but I was almost done with one anyway, so it worked out.
Mhm.
Um, the Army, my friend said, "Don't go Army," and then the Marines, yeah,
You know.
I'm not trying to live that life.
White House to Marines. I don't see that. I see Marine to White House, but the transition between the two, probably not so much.
Yeah.
So, so what? How long did you end up staying in the military?
I'm still in.
Oh, you're still in. Are you? Are you?
So I've been
appointed?
reserves the entire
Reserve.
time.
That's what
I've been a reservist,
Oh,
but
okay. Okay.
but I activated twice. So I went to Afghanistan and I also did a year at a command down here at Fort Bragg, which is why I live in North Carolina now. But
Nice.
yeah, so I've gone on active duty, but then I come back off and go back to my day job.
Sure. Sure. So now, and you were a decorated veteran. So speak a bit about that. What, what honor did you earn?
You earn different awards along the way, but the ones I'm most proud of are from my 2 deployments. So in Afghanistan, I was awarded a meritorious service, which is the highest one that they could give me in my position, but I was actually serving in a psychological operations task force there,
Oh,
which sounds nefarious, but it's really a lot like marketing. Like you're you're influencing a population, but in our case, we were trying to help the population understand terror is bad, legitimate government good, that sort of thing. But I was in charge of a whole team of people all over the country, Afghans, NATO forces, just different folks, and it was amazing. But so that was one of my biggest awards. And then I was at a special operations command for a year and I got their joint commendation medal, which was the highest that they could give me in that role as well.
wow.
And I deployed to various places that I can't talk about, but it
Yep.
was an
Yep.
amazing experience. And I loved it so much that I stayed on as a contractor for another year. And that's when I just moved down here full time.
Wow. Lots to be proud of there. I love it. Okay. So hurting celebrities in green rooms. Now where did that's the last one. And then we're gonna get
Okay.
into the top because but hurting celebrities in the green rooms. All right, explain that one.
So when I joined when I joined industry, when I left being a political appointee and I went to a defense contractor, government consulting firm, they were like, "What is your skill set? Where should we put you?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, at the White House, you just do everything." But they were like, "What about communications?" And I was thinking, and when I was in the Bush administration, I was part of what's called the advance team. And it goes out in front of the president or Mrs. Bush or whoever and like sets up events. It's event planning, but it's event planning with Secret Service and a lot more going on. But I did that a few times for the president and Mrs. Bush and a cabinet secretary. And so I was like, I have event planning experience. And so they shoved me into communications. And that is what led to me being a public affairs officer. Like it's so funny when you follow breadcrumbs, right? You never know where they're going
Yeah.
to take you.
You were just like falling into this stuff.
Totally. But it's
Like
because I
nothing
see
you
it.
sought out.
No, it's because I saw a door that looked interesting and I just pushed it to see where it would go. That's literally been my whole life.
So what types of celebrities?
Oh, okay. So I had a bunch of different clients, government clients, when I was a consultant, and one of them, I won't say who it is, but they had this giant event every year, and I ended up leading that event, and it was like a 3-day event. We had 100 members of the media come. I did it 3 years in a row. We had keynotes like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, Elon Musk. Like, this was so long ago. This was way like, seeing these people now, I'm like, "Dear goodness." But yeah, so people like that, were backstage, and so I was literally like it was like feeding really important pets. Like, you're just, like, shoving them into different rooms, making sure they've got what they need, getting their teams around and making sure they're comfortable.
Oh man.
Yes. So that
How,
was my celebrity herding.
how did Elon treat you?
He is very tall, and
Is
he
he
looked
really? I didn't realize he's so
yeah,
tall. He tells you.
he looked over my head, so I never actually I felt like he never looked in my eyes, which is fine. Yes, and Bill Gates also. Bill Gates didn't look at me for a long time, but I think he was nervous. I think he was just anxious, and we lost his handler at one point, and I think he got, like, upset at me because I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah. Yeah.
"What's up, Bill Gates? This is so exciting."
Did Clinton behave?
Clinton behaved, but he is a talker. He keeps his team late to everything because he's so smart, and he'll just see something on the wall and just go off on this story that you're like, "How did you know that?" He was pretty incredible. And actually, I probably shouldn't tell this either, but I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast, but there was another conference in the same convention center as our event, and his wife was Secretary of State at the time. She was supposed to speak at that, but she got pulled away. So that event planner came to our event, asked if Bill could step in, and he did. No preparation, totally different topic. And he's just, "Okay, I'll be the keynote for you guys too."
Oh wow, because he could just talk.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
pretty incredible.
yeah. All right. You said earlier you just saw the doors and then just push them open. You saw that opportunity. So I think this is a great segue into how to get out of your own way and start pursuing these dreams because we're so held back by fear. Even
Yeah.
if you look at what how do you control people with fear? You control yourself to a detriment with fear.
Yeah.
And it's what face everything and rise or what is that? The FEAR. Oh my god, I just totally blanked on it. It's one of my favorite sayings. Fear everything and run or face everything and rise. Something
I've
like
never
that.
heard that, but I like it.
Yeah, see now if I could remember the way it was exactly said, you'd probably like it even more, but it's to that same effect because it does. It's either going to paralyze you or like in your case, it's going to drive you. I think we like I went into law enforcement because of 9/11.
Yeah.
I had been traveling. I had a corporate job I freaking hated it. And I traveled every week
Yeah.
and it drove me crazy. And I thought, shit, I could have been in one of those planes. Why am I
Oh,
would
yeah.
rather feel that I could protect or do something in a situation than sit back and be that sitting duck. And
Mhm.
let me look at law enforcement. So that's how I started micro. And I was 36 at the time. And I was just like, screw up, bye corporate world.
I
So
love that.
and it was just like again, that no fear thing where most of my life, I actually was a criminal justice major. And this is back in the early 80s. And I just dated myself. And I thought if you would have said President Reagan, I remember that. But it was just a very different time for me. And I thought, I don't want to ever put my life on the line for anybody. It's just not worth it. I'm too afraid to die. And then 9/11 happens, and I'm like, all right, bring it, bitches. That just things change you.
Yeah.
And there was that opportunity. And I think if it's, what do you think it is? Is it something that's just so passionate within you that that's what makes you say, F it to the fear? Or what are your thoughts there? Yeah, take it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because we were chatting earlier about I'm definitely wired to run towards the action and help. So I think I've always felt like I was born that way. But I do think things like 9/11, I think it just brings things into perspective. Same with COVID, right? Like a lot of people completely changed their careers or their whatever, their social life during COVID. I think that's what 9/11, I think they're just catalysts at times
Yeah.
for people to think, my gosh, life is short. You know, what do I really want to do? Why am I afraid? Because we could die anyway. So let's just go for it. So I think it could be a catalyst, but then I think some people are just wired for that anyway.
Yeah. Like like during the COVID thing, I think you had two sets of people. Those who were like, and I was one of them saying, I'm gonna be the rebel here. I'm not gonna listen. I'm going to the mountains. I'm gonna go out and play. I'm not gonna be afraid to hug my friend. Life is
Yeah.
too short and I'm gonna live it. And then you had the extreme fear
Yeah.
of those that literally isolated themselves almost to death, where the suicide rates went up because the fear was so much. And that's where
Yeah.
that acronym really can come in, that face everything and kind of rise up and live, or let that fear take you over. It can just consume so much. So what are some tips that you have, or talk more about if I was somebody sitting here saying, oh, I'm living this life that's just not fulfilling. And people, if you do not feel joy, like when you tell your stories, you feel that energy coming from you. And that
Yeah.
is, I'm afraid, it's what those things that you were supposed to do. Like they drove you. That was passionate. And then you hear people talk about, yeah, I go to work today. And you just, oh, gotta go home to the old man or the old lady. I'm just like, where's your joy? And sadly, when I've said to clients, tell me one thing that brings you joy. And they have to think on it.
Yeah.
That makes my heart sad to be
Yeah.
literal, like just coasting through life, not coasting and not living
Mhm.
experience. And
Yeah. I feel like like you can inoculate yourself against fear the more things you try. So a lot of people, you're terrified at first, but then if you do something and it was embarrassing and you realize it didn't kill you, then you can do something bigger the next time and it just builds on
yeah,
itself.
yep.
So I have tried so many different things and I have put myself in the shoes of a beginner over and over and over. Like, me going through my first deployment training is ridiculous. Like, fumbling around, like, never had stuff on correctly. And it's humbling, but it's also fun if you look at it like you're in kindergarten again. Like, how many
That's
times
what
as
I
an
was thinking,
adult?
just like a kid.
Yes.
You can start
We don't
over.
get op Yeah, we don't get opportunities as an adult very often to feel that way again. And if you just it's terrifying to jump off the cliff and do it, but once you do it, you're like, "Oh, that was actually fun." And now I'm not as scared because, yes,
Yeah.
I embarrassed myself, or yes, I even if you fail, it's, "Oh, but that didn't kill me. Now I can try something else." It's liberating.
That's the word. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking when you were saying that too. It is very liberating, and that's what you hear from, like, when people actually do it. When you were talking about that, it made me think I'm petrified of heights. Petrified of heights. And the first time I zip lined was in this jungle in Costa Rica. And I get up to the top and I'm like, I can't do this. I cannot let go of this. And the guy's like, if you don't do it, I'll push you. And I'm like, okay. I was probably my boyfriend actually at the time. It's like, I'll just push you. And I said, I looked at the guy who didn't speak great English, but I said, what's the maximum weight on here? Has anybody ever died? He's no, lady, just go. Let's go. And this is the most terrifying thing. And I took that step off of there and I flew I screamed. And then I thought, oh, I gotta do this again. Like, because once you get, it's the initial fear, I think, that keeps us from taking that first step. But I love what you said is just to basically, when you take that step, you feel so empowered where it's the bring it bitches.
Yeah, it
Right?
is. And you feel you get more confidence in yourself and you then know how capable you are. And so I like I guess in the last few years my risks have been less like going to war and more looking at being entrepreneurial or investing in real estate or different things like that. And it's terrifying, but I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? The book from like back in the 80s or whatever. I'd never read it before. And he said something, and I have to paraphrase, but it was like, I am not afraid to take risks because I know myself and I know I will figure it out. I know I will figure out a way. I know myself and I'll figure it out. And that is, oh gosh, that's so poignant. And that's how I feel too when I'm taking risks. Yeah, this could totally fail, but I know myself. I've been in failure before, I've been in embarrassment before, and I'll figure it out. I know that now, but you have to put yourself in those positions to build
Yeah.
that confidence.
How do you know success unless you fail?
100%.
And who's to say
Yeah.
what is embarrassing? It's perception. Nobody else was embarrassed.
Yeah.
You took that on yourself that this was embarrassing. Why? Is it because
Yeah.
you weren't perfect in doing what you did, so you thought you might look bad? Who cares?
And I usually think it's funny. Like,
Yeah, that's the
I'm
best, is
kind of
finding the humor in it.
I'm hard to embarrass, but I my friends will look at what I did and be like, "Oh my gosh, I would die." I'm just like, "Really?" Because I thought it was funny.
When you can laugh at yourself, I think that opens up all new possibilities in life.
Yeah.
One of my
100%.
earliest mortifying experiences, this is like trauma that sticks with you, right? But I was humiliated then, but I laugh about it now. It was only my first time skiing, and it was up in Vermont at
Oh
Killington.
gosh.
I didn't know what I was doing. The first lesson we had, they said, "Okay, come down," and the guy's like, "When I tell you to stop, stop." And I'm coming down the hill, he's like, "All right, stop. Stop. Lady, stop." I was only like 15 years old. I couldn't stop. I had to wait until I wiped out to stop.
Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, I go with the girl, Karen Dunster. If you ever listen to this podcast, I will never forgive you for this. But we went to go up the chairlift, the big chairlift, and we go to get on, it hits you in the butt, and she about knocks me off. The chairlift keeps going, and I'm hanging, literally hanging from this chairlift by my hands. And they stop the chairlift. The guy's yelling, "Drop off! You have to drop off!" And I dropped off into waist deep snow, and they had to come and pull me out. And then the chairlift
Amazing.
goes up as I go under it, and this whole line of people looking at me, utter humiliation. And that I just laugh. And then I just sit there and laugh. And it was like this hot guy. He was older than me, had a mustache and everything. Mustaches are cool back then, not now, guys. But he stash only. But he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you have anybody to go up with?" And I'm thinking, did you not just witness that? That debacle? This is taking your life in your old hands, riding up with me. But I said, I got to ride up with the hot guy because he didn't see it. But it's just funny how you laugh at yourself. Somebody else could have been so mortified that they took their skis off for the rest of the day and said, "I'm
Yeah.
gonna go." And then you never know what you have left in you.
Yeah.
And then
It's
you
so
have a good
true.
story, right? Make the
Yeah.
best story up. Okay. uh, let's tell me a little bit more about what kind of advice would you give to people? What's a first step to take to looking at empowering yourself and the who gives a crap about embarrassing because what's embarrassing, and just what's it like to just open those doors that you see ajar, and that fear of what if I push it open? Is it really going to be a lion on the other side? What if it's an angel saying, "Welcome home. This is where you're supposed to be, at this position or in this place, or this is where you've been meant to be."
Mhm. I like to dabble, what I call, which is a lot of times I'll try something quietly on the side, and I won't tell anybody. Like, so I joined a cover band in DC. Like, I sang in a cover band for
Of
4 and a
course
half.
you did. Jeez. There's the Jedi warrior. Okay, I knew there was something else you weren't telling us.
Because I was bored at work. Like, it's just like, I need to feel the creative side of me. So I went on Craigslist to date myself. I went on Craigslist, and there was a guy that was, like, looking for a harmony vocalist, and I was like, "I can sing harmony a little bit." And so I literally, like, left work, went to the and didn't tell anyone, like, no one. I went and met this guy, and he liked me, and he's like, "I have this whole band. Do you wanna join the band?" And the next thing I know, I was, like, on stage inviting my friends at that point, because I had established that I could do it, that I didn't
Yeah.
suck, and that
Yeah.
now this is the thing. And I've done that so many times where don't give up your day job. You don't have to go full bore to try something new. Just start doing it on a voluntary basis on the side. Build your skill set, build your network. You don't have to tell anyone. And then if you
Mhm.
fail, then you all you did is get data. Now that's not the thing. You move on to the next thing. So I that's one of the tips that I give people is just dabble. Start there. But
Because what if you would have joined that band and you said, "The singing's not for me, but I like working in the background or getting gigs or right? Like the
100%.
managerial part." You don't know where one position just may lead to another.
100%. Yes. Yeah.
Even in fun, with hobbies.
Oh, yeah. 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 I that's definitely happened with me as well, when I went in doing one thing and then I was like, "Well, I don't like this aspect, but I still am drawn to this arena, so what else is there here that I can do?" And writing is another thing that I did quietly on the side. Like, I've been a defense contractor, I've worked in national security steadily my entire career, but I wrote a book on the side. I didn't tell anybody I was doing it, and I was working with a publisher for months, and all of a sudden I was like, "Surprise, I wrote a book, I hope it's not terrible," and then I shoved it out into the world, and I had been writing on a blog quietly. I blogged for the Red Cross on a voluntary basis on my free time. I was just, like,
Mhm.
easing myself in, and then I was
So
ready to
awesome.
release it to the world. Yeah, and it was amazing.
So, don't you hear people so concerned about what other people think? You'll have some people that get out there and every little thing they're doing, they'll put down what they're having for dinner. They put down on Facebook when they're going to the bathroom. Does it really, like, do most people care? And last year, I was going through on YouTube looking for some fun things to post and for quotes that meant something to me. And I came across like 300 and some quotes. And I think a lot of them were, some of them were based on a little bit of stoicism, and they registered with me. But one was silence, basically around silence being golden, like really being golden. And that you don't tell everybody what you're doing, because someone will want to see you succeed and others want to see you fail. And I knew this when I started putting my podcast together last year. April 1st will be a year that I launched. And I knew there were people that were like, "Hope she sucks." And then I know there were
Yeah.
people that were like legit cheerleaders. So I didn't really say anything until it came out. And I found that also that just made a lot of sense to me. Why even put yourself out there yet? Let it go. Build it up in yourself to where it's confident. People don't need to know what you're doing
Yeah.
in every single thing. And sometimes the beauty is just dropping it and going, "Hey, you haven't heard from me in a while, and look what I did." And you put that product out there that you're proud to bring out instead of these little things where people are just tired of hearing everything that you're doing every second of the day.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I agree. 'Cause it's almost like The Boy Who Cried Wolf too, then it's I'm gonna 'cause I found myself in that position because I kept trying to write a second book. For 10 years, I've tried to write a second book, and I have talked about it so many times that I'm tired of hearing myself talk about it, but now people will be like that's the first thing they if I haven't seen them in a while, they're like, "How's the second
Where's
book
the
coming?"
book?
I'm like, "Oh god." I'm so embarrassed.
Yep.
Why did
Yep.
I say it until it was ready? Yeah.
Because I think also when we get passionate about things, we get excited. It happens. And sometimes I was getting ready to launch something this month and someone just put the kibosh on it out of my control. And it's, I already announced this. Like, we already did this. Okay. It's just on hold
Yeah.
indefinitely. Like, it's going to happen. Now's not the right time. And that's okay. And
Yeah.
we don't, but we feel so much of the time that we owe people explanations of why do you want to go in the military? What are you crazy? Do I owe you an explanation? Why do you want to leave this job? You're crazy for leaving that job. It's a steady job. Who's
Yeah.
living your life? What does it matter? Why
That
we put ourselves out there just to get the foot kicked in the face? Why? Like,
that is
we
another
don't owe
that's
anybody anything.
yeah, that's another thing that you were saying, how do people get out of their comfort zone, and that's another thing that I feel like people tell themselves that the reason they wanna do something isn't noble enough. And when I went to the White House, I had been watching The West Wing, and that is why I wanted to work shallow. I know, but it doesn't matter because I'm a woman of faith, and I feel like God uses those kind of things to direct our
Agree.
paths. So if you think something's
Totally agree.
cool, do it because how where else would we find astronauts and firefighters unless they're people that thought those things were cool or that they would look cool doing those?
Exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
goodness people follow those desires. So that's I would absolutely tell people even if it's something that you just think is cool and you're embarrassed to say that, that might be the thing that you're supposed to do, and that might be what's inside of you guiding you there. You don't have to tell people that, though. I didn't tell people that I wanted to be like the West Wing. I was like, "Oh, no, I'm serving my country, blah, blah, blah." Public public service. But it's because of the West Wing.
Sure, sure. What drives us doesn't matter. It's what
Yeah,
drives us ourselves. And again, that's back to the be authentic. If it's the West Wing that drives you, own that shit. Guess what? I'm going to go, but I'm going to be in the real West Wing, people. So, la la la. I'm going to live the story that I've been watching and enjoying because it caught your interest. There was something about that that environment that wanted you, that drove you towards that. You
yeah.
know, when I remember very vividly, I was a very big Quentin Tarantino movie fan. Yes, sick, violent, twisted, but yet funny. And I'd be like, I'm gonna burn in hell for laughing at this. But that was like my humor. And I remember so vividly watching Reservoir Dogs. And when they tortured Marvin, when Mr. White tortured Marvin in that chair, cut his ear off just because he was a cop. Cut the ear off, poured the gasoline on it, goes to light him on fire till a good cop shoots him. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, I'm never gonna put my position in I could never be a cop. I would never wanna put myself in that position to have that happen." And then 9/11 happens, and guess what? Okay, Reservoir Dogs, here we come. I'm gonna be Marvin. Situations change, and who we are, we just evolve. But just like The West Wing drove you to do that, it was like Reservoir Dogs kept me out of doing something I would have been good at
Yeah,
much earlier in life, but I was too afraid.
yeah.
So I think things like that can make or break the dream. For you, geez, like it started, it was the catalyst. The West Wing for you was the catalyst of a lifetime of so many opportunities because you watched a TV show.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't owe that to anyone. No one needs to know that that's what took me there to begin with.
I
But I
know now.
followed it. But I followed
Okay.
it.
Now we know a bunch of people are wanting to be like Yellowstone ranchers probably and looking for Rip. Like all the women
I'm
are
sure. No,
Rip.
I love it. I'm sure. They said that when the original Top Gun came out in the 80s, that Navy pilot recruiting shot up hundreds and hundreds of percent. I don't know if that's
Yep.
true, but I believe it.
It's just so interesting how it different things affect society at different points in time
Yeah.
and what. But we all have things inside that drive us, and sometimes it's just what is, like you said, what's basically the vessel
Yeah.
that yes. For you, West Wing, for me, 9/11.
Yeah.
It's for a lot of
But it's
people,
listening. It's listening to that and moving out. That's the difference. Because so many people got inspired by the Top Gun or whatever, and they didn't join the military. So
yep,
it's
yep.
listening to yourself and moving out on it and actually seeing if you can do it.
And what is was it your book on running?
Yes.
I think it was because I mean, I love like the sprints. I've done CrossFit for years. I love to look at a WOD that has 400-meter runs or 800-meter runs, and I hate looking at them that say 1-mile runs, and with not so much fun stuff in between.
Yeah.
And then others are like, "Ooh, mile run, 2-mile run? I'll go run." I had a running coach years ago that I go out and I run for 8 hours and don't even realize the time passes, and I'm going, "Jesus Christ." Like, dude,
Breathe.
I don't do more than a 5K because I'll get bored with my playlist by then unless there's obstacles to be had in between.
Yeah.
We're also differently driven, and I think it was from what I read, it was that running can be done by anybody. I think we're just genetically wired to have it done differently. I love to sprint and others love distance. When you figure out what your niche is, you can work with that. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Not entirely. I agree with that, but I think running is for everyone because I've been in races where people walked the whole thing, and I just feel like the
Yep.
running community
Yep.
is very welcoming, and people talk themselves out of it. It's so many we're so good at what's the word? Self-selecting out of things where we're like, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's not for you."
Yep.
And
Our
it's
brains are limit.
so wrong. It's so wrong. And running is one of those things that people are like, "Ah, I can't run." I'm like, "I am so slow." But there's always people slower than me in usually always. But but I've seen people with disabilities finish races. I've seen people morbidly obese finish races.
Oh yeah.
I really do think that it's a sport that everyone can do, even if you have to adapt and
Mhm.
whatever, you're in
Mhm.
a car, whatever. And it's just the camaraderie. It's it's so amazing. If you wanna lift your spirits in this crazy time that we're all going through right now, go to a race. You don't even have to run it. Go to a race and just cheer other people doing it, and I'm bawling every time I'm at a race. It's it just
Okay, I
makes me
thought I was the only one because I used to do when I lived up in Montana. I did 5Ks all the time, and I would have all these upper body injuries. I could still run, ugh. And I had friends that did all the ultras, and they'd say, "Hey, why don't you come and do this?" I'm like, 5K cutoff. And then they'd say, "Hey, there's a 5K attached." Okay, I'll do that and then be done and wait for you guys.
Yeah.
And it really is when you're on that starting at that starting point, and in some, there's like hundreds of people, 1,000 people, like you said, all shapes or sizes. There's moms with strollers. Okay, that's when it's humiliating when the mom with the stroller passes you. I'm like,
I've been
good
there.
God. And but everybody is there, like for the same reason, and they're there. You have your competitors who are always right in the front, and you can tell they've got the really short shorts on.
Yeah.
They have the look, and they're, like, ready to go, but the others are just there, and it's just an electric atmosphere, and they would do something patriotic every time to start it, and that already tears me up as it is.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's for me, it was super emotional. Hey, I get to be here. This isn't my jam of what I love to do, but I love the connection part of it
Yeah.
and just the atmosphere and people, like you said, people walk, people run fast, people run slow. It doesn't it's just being out there and telling yourself, I can complete this. I can walk 3 miles. I can walk 6 miles and
Yeah.
just go for it and get your own limitations out of your head.
100%. Yeah. It's such a great microcosm of life when you finish a race because, like, it's going through struggles, it's teaching yourself what you're capable of, it's picking yourself back up when you don't wanna do it, like, it's all those things in this condensed tiny little world, and it's, "Oh, man, now I can do my taxes," or or now I
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that when I have to dig mine out this week.
yeah, it
Love
builds
that.
your confidence for other things.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
Confessions of an Unlikely Runner.
Love it. Other than your shelf, where is it available?
Other than my shelf, Amazon. It's available wherever books are sold, but Amazon's the best. It's the
Eh,
easiest to find, and you can see everybody's reviews on there and decide if it's for you. Yeah.
Is it audiobook too?
It is. I recorded it in my closet during the first year of COVID when nobody was leaving their houses, so
Oh
I,
my
like,
god.
just decided to teach myself how to record and produce an audio.
Now I have to listen to it just to picture you sitting in a closet and recording it. I have to hear what this sounds like.
It's even better because we talked about cats, so I talked to friends who do that kinda stuff for a living, and they were teaching me about sound and all this stuff, and they're like, "You really need to muffle the sound." So I literally was talking into a cat box.
Oh my god.
Oh, no. Of me, like, talking into this cat box, and that's how now you can really imagine when you're listening.
Oh, you should have made a video of that,
I
the
know.
making of the recording of the audiobook, and put that on there because that's gold. Like, I wanna buy this book, I have to hear this. Like, I have to I the visual of it is brilliant. This is how you need to promote this book. I'm telling you, put
You're
it out.
right.
Audiobook people, if you wanna picture something while you're doing this, picture me in a talking into a cat box in my closet. It I'm telling you, you're if anybody listens to this podcast, you just probably sold more books.
Thank you. No, you're right. I wish I had had someone to video me. I was by myself, just me and my cat.
Hey, you know what? The cat might have videoed you and it's hidden somewhere for blackmail later.
It's
Like,
true. It's true.
you know how they work. You know,
Oh
they
gosh, yeah, it was a mess, I was a mess, and I realized the air conditioning would kick on and ruin the sound, so then I was sweating because I had to turn the completely off.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Oh, it was a journey.
yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So, if people wanna learn more about you, and I know you have links for different things, we'll make sure that we have everything in the show notes, but promote, promote. Tell us
Oh,
where
sure.
people can find you and your
Thank you.
info and your book. We already know the book is on Amazon, but
Yes.
yeah, tell us more if anybody wants to get some more information.
Sure. My website's dcdana.com, and so you can also find the book on there a link to the book on there, and I have some old blogs on there. One day I wanna blog again, but it's it's
It's
not
you're just not there right now.
it's just not there right now. But you can see some of my old content, and you'll see if I ever produce a second book, it will be there first. But, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really on social media so much anymore just because I don't know, working in national security, you start to get
Yeah.
more and more, like, protected. But, yeah, my DC Dana and the book's on Amazon, and I love to hear from readers. it makes my day when people tell me that the book made them run their first 5K or try their first half marathon. So, yeah, it's all funny stories of me attempting to do these things.
Oh, what was the book? Oh, not the book. It was Netflix, and I remember it was on during COVID, and I think it was based on a true story of a woman trying to go out and run a marathon, and then it
Marathon.
got tabled.
Something runs a marathon. I can't remember her first name. Brittany
Sally?
runs a
Was it
marathon?
Brittany?
Brittany?
Brittany runs a marathon.
I haven't seen it, but I heard of it. Yeah.
You need to watch that one.
Okay.
You need to watch that because just what you were saying, it totally it totally hit me. I think that was based on a true story, but I can't remember. That was
I think it was
many
too.
binges ago. Many binges ago, Dana.
I love
I
it.
can't remember what the hell I
even
binged 2 weeks ago.
oh, many bit yes. I and even that, like we were saying, you start one thing and then it moves into something totally different. So when the book came out, I launched my own little media tour and I ended up pitching news and going on morning shows and flying to go make appearances and do book signings. And it was like, how did this happen? Like,
She
it
just
was
woke up one day, "Where am
wild.
I?" Yeah.
It was it's just putting one step in front of the other. It was like, "Oh, now I need to promote this. Let me Google how to promote books," or whatever. I had some background in communications, so I used that too, but yeah, and it was so fun because then I met people all over the country. I ran with some running groups in different cities, and it was so fun.
So what's the one piece of advice that you would give to the audience before we close out here then, as far as going for their dreams?
You said something in the beginning that made me think of this quote. I typically end with the same quote, and I'm gonna butcher it because I usually have it printed out and I don't. But he was an advisor to Martin Luther King. I'm terrible. Now I can't even remember his name. I will find it and send it to you. But essentially the quote is, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is people who are fully alive."
I love yeah, you need to send that to me because
Okay.
that it just resonates. We're very similar this way, and that totally resonates with me and what I preach too. Because when you're just existing through life, you're not giving of yourself and you can't fully experience everything in life. And some of it's not going to be good.
Mm,
Regardless, you can be the boy in the plastic bubble and sit in there and protect yourself from everything, and that's not going to be good. But you can get out there and have some trials and tribulations, and then that really helps you to experience the highs that come after it because every failure, every single failure, does it typically lead to more? It does if you let it. But usually it leads to success in another area. It just wasn't meant to be at that time, but we can learn from that to make it better. And the gift, like you said, is think about this. Do you when you're out and about in the world and you come across people that are just real, they're authentic, they are who they are, and they own it. And I'm not talking about jerks. I'm talking about like people that are just like you pick up the energy. It's good people, it's good energy, and they're just real. Does it make you wanna be around them more because they bring something like they light you up and you come
yeah,
across
absolutely.
and then on the flip side, when you come across the energy suckers who are like legit just existing, getting through life, afraid to do everything, they're just not it's just not a good feeling for me, one that I wanna spend much time with. So where are you giving your gift? Are you because you're not gifting and living, I guess, is that's what I take from that quote.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like you were saying, not only do you experience more life when you live that way, but you're also giving to the world what you were meant to give to the world.
Yep. We are here to thrive, not just survive.
Mhm.
And that's a cliche, but it's freaking true. Like it's just is what it is. But what a fun conversation. I'm so glad I reached back out and we were able to connect this time. And I think you're yeah, and you have a second half to go yet. You're just basically got warmed up for the first half of life. And not even. But I think this is going to be super inspirational for people that are listening to just say it doesn't matter how old you are. I didn't even start coaching till I was 50. I'm 59 now, so I didn't start a podcast till I was 58. Like,
I
right,
love it.
you're just never too old to get started, and you're never too young to reach your dream. People say, "Oh, you have your life to figure it out," but some people innately already know, and then they get talked out of it.
Yeah. If an opportunity shows up, take it. Whatever age you are, wherever you are. Yeah.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly.
So, thank you so much for joining us. I
Yeah.
think again, I think you're going to be very inspirational and entertaining for our listeners today. And I'm just so grateful that you came on and shared even some stories that you haven't told before. Yay! Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah, this was so
So
much fun.
everybody,
Thanks for having me.
absolutely. Overcome the fear of people. Share this with someone that this might help. Maybe somebody that needs a little extra inspiration to start living life a little bit more. Please share this podcast. We're here to try to help everybody that we can be their most authentic selves and live their best life. So get out there, have a great day, be your most authentic self, and let it shine. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who'd find the information useful. Please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it'll help the information get out to others. If you're interested in seeing if we're a great fit to work together, the link is in the show notes below where you can sign up for a free consultation with me. So go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.